When we hear the phrase lost city, we tend to think in myths, civilizations swallowed by the sea, Atlantis, Lemuria, fantasies that never quite belonged to the real world. But most lost cities were never legends at all. They were real places, built by human hands, filled with noise, trade, belief, and daily life. They were lost because they were abandoned as climates shifted and rivers dried, erased by conquest, fire, and deliberate destruction, buried slowly by sand, jungle, ice, or volcanic ash, forgotten when power moved elsewhere and memory faded. Some were capitals of empires, some were sacred centres where pilgrims once gathered by the thousands, some were trade hubs that stitched continents together long before the modern world existed. They were not lost because they were insignificant. They were lost because the world changed around them. History does not preserve everything. It keeps what survives power, weather, and time, and lets the rest slip quietly out of view. Today, we take a long look at 10 real cities, not myths, not legends, but places rediscovered through archaeology, surviving texts, and pure accident. Cities that once shaped politics, religion, trade, and culture. Cities that vanished, and in doing so, remind us how fragile even the greatest human achievements can be. My name is John, and welcome to another long look at 10 lost cities that aren't Atlantis. Number 10. Great Zimbabwe, in Zimbabwe. For centuries, Europeans refused to believe that Great Zimbabwe was African. That refusal alone tells you how powerful it truly was. Constructed between the 11th and 15th centuries, Great Zimbabwe was not an isolated settlement. It was the centre of a vast and sophisticated trading network linking the interiors of southern Africa, the Swahili coast, and the wider Indian Ocean world. Gold, cattle, and prestige flowed outward, ceramics, glass beads, and ideas flowed in. Its monumental stone architecture still defies the assumptions once imposed upon it. Walls rising over 11 metres high were built without mortar, using precisely cut granite blocks fitted together with extraordinary skill. This was not a village, it was not a curiosity, it was a capital. Great Zimbabwe was gradually abandoned, not destroyed in a single moment of collapse. Archaeological evidence points to a slow unravelling driven by environmental strain on surrounding resources, shifting trade routes that bypassed the city, and political fragmentation within the ruling elite. The city was lost not because it failed, it was lost because later history refused to recognise African achievement on its own terms. Number 9. Nan Madol, Micronesia. Nan Madol does not sit on land, it floats. Off the coast of Pohnpei in Micronesia, Nan Madol is a city built not on solid ground but across a network of artificial islands. Basalt platforms rise from lagoons, linked by narrow canals, earning it the name the Venice of the Pacific, though no European city offers a true comparison. Constructed between the 8th and the 13th centuries, Nan Madol served as the ceremonial and political heart of the Sordler dynasty. Power here was not expressed through sprawl or population, but through control, ritual, and monumentality. Its construction remains one of the most astonishing feats of pre-industrial engineering. Enormous basalt columns, some weighing several tons, were quarried elsewhere and transported across open water, without metal tools, without wheels, and without beasts of burden. The city was not conquered in flames, it was simply abandoned. Why remains debated. Archaeology suggests a slow failure driven by political overthrow of the Sordler rules. Logistical strain, in sustaining a population on artificial islets and resource demands that exceeded what the surrounding environment could provide. Nan Madol did not fail, it became too heavy for the system that created it. Number 8. Çatalhöyük, Turkey. Çatalhöyük was not a city with streets, it was a city without them. Founded around 7500 BCE in what is now southern Turkey, Çatalhöyük is one of the earliest large permanent settlements ever discovered. There were no roads, no palaces, no temples set apart from daily life. Homes were packed tightly together, entered from the roof with ladders leading down into shared living spaces. The dead were buried beneath the floors, ancestors quite literally forming the foundation of the home. Its people farmed, herded, and traded obsidian across Anatolia, and filled their walls with ritual paintings, symbols, and plastered skulls, evidence of belief systems long before organized religion. There was no clear ruling class, no obvious kings, no monumental authority. For nearly 1400 years, Çatalhöyük endured, then gradually dispersed, not destroyed, not conquered, simply left behind. Çatalhöyük challenges the ideas that civilization began with hierarchy and power. Sometimes it began with cooperation. Number 7. Mohenjo-Daro, Pakistan. Mohenjo-Daro was a city that worked. Built around 2500 BCE as part of the Indus Valley civilization, it was not improvised or organic, it was planned. Its streets followed a precise grid. Its bricks were standardized across the city. Its homes were equipped with covered drains, private wells, and sanitation systems that would not be matched in many parts of the world for millennia. At its center stood public bathing complexes, suggesting ritual, hygiene, or civic life mattered just as much as power. What Mohenjo-Daro lacked is just as revealing. No obvious palaces, no monumental temples towering over the city, no royal tombs proclaiming dynasties or divine kings. Power, if it existed, was restrained, dispersed, or deliberately invisible. And then the city declined. There are no mass graves, no burn layers, no sign of invasion or sudden collapse. Instead, the evidence points towards slow unravelling, shifting river systems that undermine agriculture, climate change affecting monsoon patterns, and economic and trade breakdowns across the Indus network. One of the world's earliest and most sophisticated urban experiments did not fall in conquest or catastrophe, it simply stopped working. Number 6. Tikal, Guatemala. At its height, Tikal dominated the Mayan world. Rising from the jungle, its limestone temples pierced the canopy, engineered to mirror celestial cycles, dynastic authority, and divine order. Power was written into stone and aligned with the heavens. Between 200 and 900 CE, tens of thousands lived within and around the city. Farmers, artisans, scribes, priests, and rulers bound together by ritual, trade, and war. Then it emptied. Not a single catastrophe, not in a final battle or burning. Instead, the pressures accumulated on Tikal. Prolonged drought strained water reservoirs. Deforestation eroded the land that sustained the population. Escalating warfare between rival city-states destabilized the region. The systems that supported Tikal gradually failed, and the people left. Over centuries, the jungle closed in. Roots split stone, trees rose higher than the temples themselves. The city vanished not in ruin, but in silence. When outsiders arrived long after, they did not find a fallen capital. They found a civilization hidden beneath the forest canopy, waiting to be seen again. Number 5. Akrotiri, Santorini, Greece. Akrotiri did not fall, it stopped. Around 1600 BCE, the volcanic eruption of Thera unleashed one of the most powerful natural disasters in human history. Ash and pumice poured across the island, sealing the city layer by layer. What it preserved is extraordinary. Multi-story buildings, painted fresco still vivid with colour, furniture, tools, streets, frozen in the moment life paused. And yet, there are almost no human remains. The absence tells its own story. The people of Akrotiri saw the signs. They felt the tremors. They understood what was coming. They organised. They evacuated. They survived. Akrotiri reveals a Bronze Age society capable of foresight, coordination, and collective action in the face of catastrophe. The city was saved from destruction, but lost to time. The civilization preserved perfectly, not because it failed, but because it left. Number 4. Petra, Jordan. Petra was never meant to last forever. It was meant to endure the impossible. Carved directly into rose-red sandstone cliffs, Petra became the capital of the Nabatean kingdom. Traders who mastered both distance and drought. They bent the desert to their will. They captured flash floods and turned them into life-giving reservoirs. They engineered canals, cisterns, and dams where rain fell only in moments. This was a city built not on rivers but on knowledge. Petra thrived because trade flowed through it. Spices, incense, silk, linking Arabia, the Mediterranean, and the East. Then the world shifted. Roman trade routes changed. Earthquakes fractured its infrastructure. Commerce bypassed the city entirely. Petra did not burn. It was not conquered. It was outgrown. By the Middle Ages, it lived only in Bedouin memory, a place known but not shared. To the outside world, Petra vanished for nearly 5 centuries. A city erased, not by destruction, but by irrelevance, and reborn only when curiosity found it again. Number 3. Angkor, Cambodia. Angkor was never just a city, it was an ecosystem. Between the 9th and 15th centuries, Angkor supported more than 1 million people, one of the largest urban populations the world has ever seen. Its power did not come from walls or armies, it came from water. Vast hydraulic networks stretched across the landscape, reservoirs, canals, embankments, designed to tame monsoons, prevent floods, and store water through drought. Angkor Wat and its temples were only the visible symbols. The true city flowed beneath the surface. But systems demand balance. As climate patterns grew unstable and the network expanded beyond what could be maintained, the water began to turn against its makers. Floods overwhelmed channels, droughts emptied reservoirs, maintenance failed. Angkor was not conquered. It was not sacked. Its own infrastructure, once its greatest strength, became its undoing. The jungle did not defeat Angkor. The system did. Number 2. Troy, Turkey. For centuries, Troy was treated as fiction, a poet's invention, a story mistaken for history. Then archaeology intervened. At Hazalik, layer by layer, the earth revealed the truth. Not one city, but many. At least 9 successive Troys, built atop the ruins of the last, each bearing scars of fire, siege, and collapse. The Trojan War may not have unfolded exactly as Homer told us, but Troy was real. It was wealthy, it was strategic, and it was contested. And it fell, again, and again, and again. What survived was not accuracy, but memory. a city compressed into legend. Sometimes myth is not a lie, it is history, just distilled. Number 1. Teotihuacan, Mexico. No one knows who built it. When the Aztecs reached Teotihuacan, it was already ancient, its creators gone for centuries. They named it Teotihuacan, the place where the gods were born. At its height, around 400 to 600 CE, it was among the largest cities on Earth, a true megacity, home to perhaps 100,000 people, laid out with precision. A vast central avenue aligned to cosmic principles, pyramids that reshaped the skyline, and dense neighborhoods housing a remarkably multicultural population. This was not a loose settlement, it was planned, engineered, governed, and then it fractured. The evidence points inward: widespread burning of elite complexes, signs of unrest, abrupt abandonment, environmental strain, political collapse, and internal revolt likely converged. No conquerors claimed it, no final inscription explains it. Its builders left no readable name for themselves. A city powerful enough to awe empires, and silent enough to erase its own identity. A civilization that vanished so completely, even its memory had to be rebuilt. Lost cities are not mysteries because nothing is known about them. They are mysteries because we know just enough. Enough to recognize intelligence without modern technology, ambition without industrial power, complexity without written explanation, and fragility beneath the monumental stone. They show us that civilization is not a straight line of progress, it is a cycle. It rises, it adapts, it strains, it falls, and often it is forgotten, not because it lacks importance, but because history is selective. These cities were not mistakes, they were solutions to their time, and when the world changed, those solutions no longer held. Buried under ash, swallowed by jungle, erased by sand, dismissed by myth, until archaeology, chance, and patience brought them back into view. This has been a long look, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Till next time, take care.